Alrighty, good day everybody, and today we're continuing our series on consumer arithmetics, and today we're specifically looking at how to calculate tax. I trust you enjoyed yesterday's video where we addressed discount, and this one today will be very similar to yesterday, so believe me, if you got the one yesterday, the one today will be a walk in the park because it's the same concept. The only difference is that tax is a sum you add, unlike discount, which is a sum that you deduct, right? Alright, so today's aim is basically to calculate the price of an item after you add tax to it and also calculate percentage tax when the tax is given as a percentage. Good? So the tax formula again is very similar to the one yesterday from the discount. The only difference here is that our percentage here will be a tax, and as the tax dictates, you add whatever result we get here to the original price of the item or the cost price. Good? So without no delay, let's go on straight to the meat of the matter today. So here we have two examples, and again, feel free to pause it right here and see if you could attempt these two questions on your own before I step in. But of course, I would not be stopping. You could pause the video here. Moving on. And while you do that, you could also like, share, and subscribe at this point so that you can continue to get more videos like this to enhance your knowledge and skills in mathematics. So let's look at question number 1. At the hardware store, Tim bought a power saw for $2,000 and he had to pay $300 in tax. Oh, that's a heavy fee. How much did Tim pay for the item? So how much did Tim actually end up paying for this item? And again, this comes with understanding the concept of tax. Tax is a sum of money that you add to your price. It's not a deducted amount, it's an added amount. And this is, I know, one of the things that tend to confuse students. Sometimes I see students deducting the tax, and you have to be careful. No, you do not deduct the tax. In this case, you are paying the tax. And I could understand why students get caught up deducting tax. Because yes, indeed, at the ending of the day, as well, students may not know that, but when we as workers get paid or whatever the case might be, tax is not a sum of money that is added to our net or our gross, which are terms that we're going to look at in time to come. Yes, tax is usually deducted, but it is deducted because in essence, we are paying that towards something. So it's not like we are losing when they deduct it. Well, actually we are, because it's not like it's added to our salary. It's kind of tricky. But yes, tax is something that is added to a price and not necessarily deducted. Even though yes, they do deduct taxes from our salary. Maybe a nice example to look at it is when you're shopping. If you look at your shopping receipt, and they usually calculate your VAT, your tax, your value added tax. Usually, I think it's 15%. I'm not sure if it's increased or if it dropped. But the last I recall is 15%. And if you look at the amount they calculated, you will notice that your bill is added that 15%. And I think this is the best way in which you could understand the tax, and not the tax that takes place in our salary that seemingly deducts. But that deduction, mind you, doesn't give us more money. It gives us less money. So you have to understand that, right? It's a very tricky concept. Maybe when we're doing finance or economics, it will be explained a lot better. But yes, tax is always an amount that is added to whatever charge that we have to spend or we have to buy, whatever. Good. In this case, again, as I said, this is a very straightforward one. So here we have to pick out what we're given, and we know that our cost price here is given as $2,000. It's always wise to decipher what is given versus what is not given. It makes our solving procedure very easy. So before you start jumping into doing arithmetics, I would advise you, read the problem, especially when given word problem. That's a major problem in mathematics. When given as a word problem, read and read again, just as though we will do in English. Our English teachers would always tell us, if you read the question and you don't get it, read it again. If you read it again and you don't get it, then go in the passage and read around. Read, keep reading. Don't always think that it will jump out to you on the first impression. Sometimes you have to read it 3-4 times before you realize, that $2,000 is the cost price. Yes, as simple as it might seem, but sometimes you have to read it. And sometimes that $2,000 could have been the selling price, so you have to read. In this case, the question said, at the hardware store, Tim bought a power saw for $2,000. So we know this is the cost price because that is how much he bought it for. But again, sometimes it's not that always straightforward. And here we know that he gets a tax deduction. And here they didn't give us as a percentage, they gave us as cash. And the cash amount of tax we have to pay here is $300. So guess what? This amount of tax actually increases the amount in our cost price. So if you want to know how much the team actually paid for the item, it would not be less than 2,000, it will be more than 2,000 because the tax is always added to our price. So how much did he actually pay? He actually paid 2,000. This almost making tax looks like a good thing, but no, when shopping and you have to pay that amount of money, it's never positive. Even though the tax has a purpose, you know, the tax goes to government spending and government revenue. Yes, that's where our tax usually goes. But yes, it's never a nice thing to have to pay more money than what you should, right? All you want is the power saw. You don't want to pay $300 more for it. You want to pay $2,000 for it. Oh yes, that's how it works. Right, so 2,000 plus 300, that gives us a sum of $2,300. Basic arithmetic here. And like always, we're not over until we state. So how much did team pay for the item? Team paid. So yes, eventually, team paid. How much did team paid? Team paid $2,300. Yep. So team paid $2,300. Of course, for the power saw, you could go ahead and write that too. Again, writing is a living hell for me right now because I don't have the adequate device. But in time to come, I certainly will. But yes, when you're writing with pencil, pen, of course, you could write as much as you want. So team paid $2,300 for the power saw. And that is when you add that $300 in taxes, right? Wedding tax. And that brings us to our second and final question. At the supermarket, Gerald was charged 15% tax after accumulating a total of $370 in groceries. How much did he actually pay at the cashier? And again, understanding tax. Tax is not amount that is deducted. Tax is amount that will be added. So if I ask you, will Gerald end up paying less than $370? No, unfortunately no. He will be paying more because he was charged tax. And if somebody charged you, you could also think of those terms. Those are keywords that you could consider when you're doing your reading and your deciphering. If somebody charged you, that means that they add payment to whatever you have. So you're driving a car and the police stop you and they charge you for what? Speeding. That means you have to pay more money, not pay less money. They charge you $100, you have to come up with that sum of money. Good? So think of it like that. Right, so again, as usual, let's figure out what is given. So we know that he accumulated $370, so that was his initial cash price. I say cash price, cost price. So his initial cost price here would have been $370. That's for sure. So $370, and we know that the tax, the payable tax that he was charged at the supermarket. And usually, I must admit here, at certain shopping installments or institution, usually the amount of tax is fixed. So you're not supposed to be paying different tax in different locations. If not, feel free to make a report. Somebody doing something wrong. Right. So here we have the cost price and we have the tax, and these two are given. And with this, we could calculate what we need. So how do I go about? Again, you could go back a few slides or a few minutes, and you would see that our tax formula, and as always, I like to write my formula first. So tax, I know, would be equal to the percentage tax divided by 100. Very easy formula to recall because it's the same like the discount. And multiply that by your CP, which is your cost price. And from here, we just substitute. And again, when you calculate here, we're not getting our answer. By using this calculation here, using this formula here, all we are finding is the amount of money taxed that he has to pay additionally to the $370. Substituting my values now, I have 15, which is a given percentage, divided by 100, and that will be multiplied by my 370. Good? And this is where we basically try to apply our arithmetic. If we get a question like this in a multiple choice, and maybe I could address that in a different video, we have to be able to calculate this without using calculators. Yes, we do. But For the purpose of this video, and I am assuming this is the paper 2 we are addressing, we can simply plug in these values in our calculator and get our answer. Here I see that we'll end up with $55. That's a lot of money. So $55.50. This is the tax. This is the amount of tax that you will be charged at a 15% when spending $370. And if I must add here, even though the tax is fixed at 15%, please do not think that 15% will always be $55.50. No, that sum here will depend on your cost price. Based on how much you're spending, that 15% will change also. Take note of that. The only how somebody else will be charged $55.50 is if they too spend $370. Take note of that for what it was. Some people, I've seen students believe that 15% will always be $55.50. No, we have to understand that there is a correlation between the tax price and the tax percentage and the cost price. There's a correlation. So based on the cost price, the tax amount of 15% will vary. It's not a fixed $55.50. And I mean, for the purpose of playing around, what you could do, find 15% of 400, and you will see that you would not get $55.50. In fact, you will get a higher value because it's a higher cost price. Good. Just saying that by the way, just in case you might be wondering. Good. So now we're going to answer our question. How much did he actually pay? So he actually paid $370. So $370 plus, yes, remember we add tax, plus $55.50. $55.50, and this is also money, so we could put our dollar sign there. Our currency, our unit is very important. Oftentimes I ask my students, when they put a raw value without a unit, I tend to ask them what that number represents. What? Cats, cow, pencil, pen, whatever. I add something generic, because yes, we have to know what it is. That 55 something there represents our dollars, right? And if I add these two values according to my calculator here, I am seeing I will get $425.50. Yes. And as I usually say, it is not over until we state it. So how much did he actually pay? He actually paid, save me some writing, so I will just say he paid a total sum of $425.50. Man, tax could be a cruel thing. But what are we going to do? That tax. We have to live with it. Some of us benefit from it when we get older. Right. So never be discouraged to pay tax, in as much as it will seem as a horrible thing. Right. So he paid $425.50 in all for his groceries. That's the $770 that he would have accumulated with his shopping items, and that 15% tax of $55 and $50. Well, it came up to the sum of 55 and 50 cents when you get that 15%. So yes, this will bring us to the end of today's video. So again, as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe so that you'll continue getting more videos like this. Until then, see you in the next one. Enjoy.